Mankind must put an end to war. A war will put an end to mankind.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Well, I'm not drunk. I learned everything I got.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person.
Good evening. This is Elliot, and this is the Blind Partisan podcast / show. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Today, we have from District 2, Veronica Corpus-Dax.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You can see my spreadsheet. I would like to have everyone. Not everyone has come here. A lot of people are afraid, I think. And, I'm very gentle. So, tell me about your campaign process. Have you been run for office for anything else before?
Nope. This is my first time running for office. It's been very important to me to get out there and do the walking myself, knocking on the doors. I made one round of the district prior to the primary, and now I'm about 2/3 of the way done prior to the election on April 3rd.
Okay. And why did you decide to do this?
'Cause I'm crazy. Just kidding. Although some people have asked me, are you crazy?
So, I mean, legit. So, I mean, how many, you're knocking on doors. How many doors is that?
At least 2,000. I mean, I'm probably hitting more doors the second time around, probably closer to 2,500. But we have a pretty good voter turnout in our district, so it's quite a few doors.
Okay, so 2,500 doors, give or take. How long? What kind of time commitment does that take?
It's usually, I've been doing it daily. It can be anywhere from 3 to 6 hours.
A day?
A day. Mm-hmm. Yep, for about 3 straight weeks.
For 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think you can hit most of them?
I think I can hit most of them. Mm-hmm. It's been, my steps tracker is phenomenal.
You're completing all your rings.
I look really healthy right now.
I love when my thing says you completed all your rings. I'm like, I'm only halfway done. Yeah. And I've never had to do anything like that. Good. Let's just jump right into issues if that's cool.
That's fine.
So, what do you think the top thing that people are talking about when you're going to doors?
Same thing the other candidates are talking about, the wheel tax, or not, I shouldn't say wheel tax, but how do we fix our roads? A lot of my residents, they're not really interested in the special assessments being done. That can be anywhere from, a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 additional. And in my area, there's quite a few houses that have, 100, 150, 180 feet that they would be assessed for, and that gets expensive. So that's definitely one of the things that that is on most people's mind is how do we pay for our aging roads? Bonding, there's good and bad with bonding. What I have an issue with bonding is that it ends up costing us more because of the interest that we're paying. I myself and my husband as well, when we're looking at our own budget, we try to avoid paying interest as much as possible with anything. If we can, if we can pay for it outright, we'll try to do that. I know not everyone has that opportunity, but if we can, we do. We have a car loan, which is the first time we've had a car loan in I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years, and we're just like, how can we get rid of this as soon as possible so that we're not wasting money on interest? So
when you're talking to people, what do they feel about it? They don't want to have a special assessment, so they do want this wheel tax?
I've actually found more people are in favor of the wheel tax than anything else, than special assessment or bonding, which kind of surprised me. But I found a lot of people who are in favor of it if we can place a term limit on it.
So they want a sunset clause on it.
Yes. They would like a sunset clause on it. Also, I'd hate for it to be, I want to make sure that if we do go with a wheel tax or a wheel fee, however you want to call it, that we're charging the correct amount. I'd hate for it to be something where, okay, let's appease people, let's make it $10, and then 2 years later, oh, sorry, we didn't plan for enough, so now we got to increase it to 20. A couple years later, oh, sorry, still not enough. Like, we need to make sure we're doing our due diligence and charging the correct amount, saying, hey, and present it correctly. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're charging. This is how we see it's going to work. Making sure that the costs are being covered by this wheel tax.
So, and I really don't want to beat this topic to death, but why do you feel like the city can't just pay for that from general funds?
I don't know. I don't know the budget well enough. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think that we do need to reprioritize.
Well, okay. So when you're talking to people, the number one issue is the roads, right? And even if the roads were good, I feel like if I ask people, what do you think the role of city government is? They'd say, well, I don't know. I'm not super sure.
Well,
roads,
police, yep.
I guess police, fire,
sanitation,
maybe some garbage pickup, and then parks. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, right? And so we need to reprioritize.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, when you look at things like $700,000 on bridge lights, when we have roads that are just covered in potholes, like how can we justify spending $700,000 here for lighting? That was a gift from different foundations to begin with, than to put that money towards roads.
So the main issue that I have, and I've shared this in different ways before, but with the wheel tax, it's a hidden tax. It's regressive, and it'll never go away. Like, once a new tax is added, you can even say there's a sunset clause, but all it takes is a simple majority vote of a future council that you may or may not be on, and it goes through, and it's just it's below the radar. Whereas including in the general fund, that has, I think, more visibility. People see and it's simpler. They know what they're paying for. When we have all these complications, you even said you're a pretty informed person, and you're like, I don't know everything about the budget. Well, it shouldn't be that hard.
No.
So like that. So that's where I'm always coming from. I don't really care. So for me, it'll be $40, right? But it's the fact that Milwaukee, it's $50,
right?
And
I think it started off at $30.
Well, so I shouldn't say Milwaukee is 50. It's I think 20 for Milwaukee City, but then 30 for Milwaukee County.
Okay.
So and then we have the same problem. What if the county says, oh, we would like some of that? How if we have a $10 wheel tax also? And I feel the same way about that as sales tax or anything else. And everybody's friend Mark Becker will say that I just hate all taxes. Well, who doesn't hate all taxes, right? But I want them to be transparent and
right.
So next topic you can pick. You care about any of these, and if not, we can move on to anything that you think is good. Okay. So the kind of the things that have been talked about over the last year: the Northland Hotel, Colburn Pool, and the Bullfrogs.
Let's go with Colburn Pool.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know the situation with that? Okay. So what are your thoughts?
I like the idea. I have a hard time supporting the idea. Again, I go back to it's a nice to have, but when we have the road situation that we do, it's hard to prioritize that over our roads. So and the maintenance costs that are associated with it. I know that pools generally they're always come in at a loss. We never make money on pools. And I think there was a Press Gazette article that came out not too long ago about how there's a declining attendance at pools at the Rush and at Joanne's. And so it's hard to support that idea, knowing that there's declining attendance. It's something that's used 3 months out of the year. To put that amount of money when we could be putting that, to put that amount of money when we could be putting it towards roads, fixing our roads.
So Chris Wary, of course, is a big supporter of that. So he thinks that it may actually turn out to be profitable because they have support from the swim teams that go there.
I know.
So they have sort of handshake agreements, I guess, that that they the costs will be paid for by these organizations. I mean, we'll see, and I hope so. If we're going to pay for the pool, I'd like it to not be in the red,
Right.
be in the black.
I mean, it's one of those things where I want to see the numbers. Show me the numbers.
Well, and the numbers. So this is a kind of feeds into all of these things. The numbers keep going up, and so part of that is that we take too long and deliberate too much.
Yes,
but we want that so that we get a good deal too.
we do.
So how would you and this kind of goes into the decorum question, but what do you think you can do if you're elected to fix some of that?
I want the numbers up front. I want the research up front. The necessary questions need to be asked before, even at subcommittee level prior to going to council, so that when you get to council, you should be ready to say, to give all the answers or give as much detailed information as you can. And I think if we're able to do that, if elders are able to do that, ask those questions up front before it even gets to council, then maybe we can get rid of some of this lack of decorum, some of this arguing that's happening during the meetings. We can get rid of some of the delays that have been occurring with trying to get some of these projects through council.
So you can't be on every committee though. So
No.
How would you actually accomplish that?
What the committees that I am on, that's definitely something that I'd be looking to do, asking the questions, getting the answers, getting the data necessary so that we can present properly. I would hope that other elders would want to follow suit, because I think it's a responsibility of the elder to bring that to council. They're representing not only their residents, but they're representing all residents of Green Bay. So we should be able to provide that information up front in the event that there are residents that show up to meetings and, are interested and want to know.
So, with those 3 projects that I mentioned, do you think that, how would you classify the management of them?
I can't really, I can't really say. I haven't been to all the meetings. I haven't.
Do you think, I guess what I'm getting at is, you'd like the information up front, and it seems like a lot of the information wasn't available up front. So, what are your thoughts on that? How can we fix that? Is it unfixable?
I don't think it's unfixable. I think it's, people working on these projects need to, take responsibility upon themselves to get the answers, to have the research there and available, and to make it available not only to the elders, but to the residents so that they understand what's going on and they understand how their tax dollars are being spent.
So do you have an example of, I know that certain alders, they have a catchphrase, send it back to committee. Are there any specific cases of that you thought, well, this is ridiculous?
4 years for the shipyard seems kind of a long time for a decision. I know people feel differently about whether or not it was a good idea to begin with. It was more than just the bullfrogs. It was other development as well. On a blighted site that is just going to continue to sit there until someone finally steps up and does, some investor or developer comes in and does something.
So Chris Weary did actually talk about that in a little more depth than I had heard before, and he said that it wasn't the bullfrogs that were the holdup, but it really wasn't the city either. It was these other organizations that were involved. They couldn't get the funding, or they wanted the city to promise to buy it back if it didn't work out, and the city, we don't want to be in the restaurant business. So, I have my own personal belief on that, but how do you make that better?
That's a great question. We definitely, the council definitely does need to make sure that it is protecting the residents and not getting into situations where the taxpayers could be
at risk.
At risk, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we can kind of move on from there, I guess. You have any other thoughts on the bullfrogs? I guess
it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation, but I'm hopeful that something will happen with that area.
So if you knew that at best the city would break even on redeveloping that, you'd be in favor of that?
Breaking even, yeah.
Okay. And so just your own personal opinion, maybe. What do you think would be good for right there?
I've seen like I've heard that, what is that, Breakthrough Fuel was looking at anchoring down there, as well as, hopefully, I think we need a business to just anchor down there, take that risk, but I'm not necessarily willing to risk taxpayers, but I think we do need someone from the public sector to take that risk, because I definitely do believe that once we have something anchored down there, that other businesses, other restaurants, other retail other housing will pop in around there.
So businesses, they don't live in like a separate bubble though. So they know that city taxes are sometimes used to help fund their projects. So, if we write a big enough check, somebody will move in there. So, in general, what do you think about that from development standpoint? Do you think we can just keep writing checks for people?
I don't think we can do it for everybody, but I think there are projects where it is advantageous to do so. When you have a blighted property that's just been sitting there for 30 years, 40 years.
So, they call it blighted, but it's really just a green area there. I think for a lot of it anyway. Is it hurting anything leaving it alone for right now?
It's not hurting anything, but we're also not, we're not gaining anything.
Okay. All right. So you have any thoughts on Northland?
No.
I don't think there's much to talk about. So, so other things when you're knocking on doors, 2,500 doors, what are some things people are bringing up?
It's mainly been how do we pay for our roads? It's been the attracting and retaining young professionals in our area. I know Wisconsin in general is just having this brain drain when it comes to young professionals. They're leaving for other cities. So how do we, Green Bay in general, how do we retain and
what do you tell people when they ask that?
I think it's a multi-layered solution. I think we need to work, the city needs to work with.
You sound like a politician already. A multi-layered. It's very complicated. It's a very complicated host. Sorry.
I do think it is a multi-layered solution, because I think you need to work not only with, I don't think it's just the city. I think it's also the local businesses. We need to work with businesses, business leaders. We need to also work with UWGB, St. Norbert's, the tech schools. I think it would do a lot to survey current students and say, okay, why are you, you're graduating from here, you're graduating from UWGB, you're graduating from NWTC, St. Norbert's. Are you staying or are you leaving? If you're leaving, why are you leaving? Why are you choosing to leave? I think that would finding those answers goes a long way. I definitely think that the young professionals that are here need to be in on it.
Okay, so I'm a devil's advocate. So I teach computer science at UWGB, and the students don't know if they're leaving necessarily until they get an offer and they leave. So surveying them, in a lot of cases, they don't know the answers to that. So
I still think it'd be good information to have if they, it doesn't have to just be, are you leaving? Why are you leaving? It's what would make you stay in Green Bay?
I think a job offer would.
Well, besides a job offer. Because you could have two job offers job offer in Green Bay, job offer in Illinois.
Okay.
Or even Milwaukee, somewhere else. What would make you stay here? Why would you choose to leave? I think it would be good to know. It would be good to know what college students, what young professionals in this area, what they want, what would make them stay, what would make, what would sway them.
Okay. I'm not sure, because I really think that a job offer sways people.
Yeah.
And I think the way to get a job is to attract businesses, and the way to attract businesses is low taxes and fixed roads.
See, multi-layered.
I actually don't. I think it's a very single layer. It's pretty much like fix the friggin' roads.
Fix the roads. People will come downtown.
So you mentioned UWGB, NWTC working together. You don't think there's enough collaboration going on right now?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be an issue. We wouldn't be talking about it if there was enough collaboration. My husband, he does a lot of research and of candidates and brings them in, and for someone who's in their early 20s, mid 20s, or 20s in general, it's hard to attract them from another city.
Okay, so attracting them like once they're already gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's this perception anyway that there's sort of a dysfunction in city council,
Mm-hmm.
and the word decorum is used only in describing our city council. I never hear it anywhere else. And honestly, I don't know. I guess I don't go to fancy dinner parties where these kinds of things are expected. But talk about that for a little bit. Our constituents asking, do you have thoughts?
Constituents are asking. I mean, it's sad. I mean, to have as many people as I've spoken with say, the lack of decorum is embarrassing in city council. You don't hear about this happening at the county level. You don't hear about it from Appleton or Ashwaubenon. They're all working together. They have the same common goal, which is to move their villages, towns, cities forward, to progress. And with Green Bay and us having a national football team, it seems like as a city, we're moving backwards instead of forwards. Like we need to start acting like a city that has a national football team.
So you said going forward, backwards instead of forwards. In what way?
I think with just I think people see like the lack of progress that has occurred with the city, the indecisiveness with council, the behavior of some elders, name calling.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of the name calling and making it personal, that kind of stuff. But in terms of progress, like the rail yard notwithstanding, how do you feel like we're not moving forward enough?
It just seems like the political posturing that's taken place with some of the elders, and I think the perception is that they're holding up projects with this back and forth and not getting along, not wanting to work together.
So, do you think that you mentioned Ashwaubenon and other area, other surrounding areas? Maybe we just have more going on.
It's possible.
Because when I think about, partly because I think that some of the work has been done to build infrastructure in some of these other towns. So businesses just move there. They don't need to be convinced to move there.
Right.
So maybe our job is just harder because we have an older city. We had to do a lot of work with our downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it sounds like I'm sticking up for them. But what do you think that you can do if you go in there? Like, how do you think you can make an impact?
I'm very much willing to listen to all sides and work with. I have no interest in.
You have no interest in.
I have no interest in. I want to move. I want to be a part of moving the city forward.
Okay.
I want to do my part to help move the city forward. I want to work together with elders in order to achieve that. I'm not interested in the personal feeling, like in personal attacks, personal feelings, getting in the way.
What if you're personally attacked, though?
If I'm personally attacked, it's more on the other person than it is on me.
Okay.
They're showing their colors. I mean, am I going to stand up for myself? Yeah, I'll stand up for myself, but I don't have to do it I can do it respectfully. And I can stand up for the position of the, District 2 residents or Green Bay in general.
Okay. And I mean, to kind of encapsulate that, I think that's the general feel is people feel like there's this incredible dysfunction, but like when you try to nail it down, it's really just they see the name calling on TV.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's what makes the news, and that's unfortunate.
Right.
I mean, it should be the other things that Counselor is doing that makes the news.
So when we talk about progress, there are two sides to this.
Mm-hmm.
There are people like me that are telling all these guys, You got to be really super careful spending public money on things that probably shouldn't. A private business should probably just handle that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we build infrastructure and we take care of our job, businesses will be fine and they'll come here.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, that's oversimplifying. We need to have some TIF districts and we need to, give them some incentives and whatever. So, there have been some successes in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the cost ends up being worth it. But when we see progress being made, the skyline of Green Bay
Mm-hmm.
has transformed incredibly
Yes.
over the last 20 years.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, you're kind of an outsider. I'm an outsider. I mean, are we being too hard on them? On the existing council and the mayor?
But shouldn't we as residents expect a certain amount from our council?
I think that's a good answer. I mean, so I don't think we should artificially set our expectations low.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're mostly out of time. Anything else you want to share?
I would be honored to be the alder for District 2. So I'm hoping people get out there and vote on April 3rd. I mean, I had a good primary, but I know that there's still 2,000, 2,500 votes still out there that I don't know which way they're going to go. So I'm just going to keep on knocking on doors. And
if somebody has a question for you or would like to follow up with you somehow, how would you like them to do that?
they can reach me on my Facebook page. Otherwise, they can email me at v.corpus-dax@gmail.com. Otherwise, they can call me at 920-328-5441.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully it wasn't too excruciating.
No, it wasn't.
I know with a lot of the people running now, this is sort of their first time. So you're not alone in that.
No.
And thank you for running. I think that's great. So that wraps it up. If you would like to tell me that I talk too much, please join me in the Blind Partisan Facebook group. And please, again, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, even if you don't want to subscribe and see my beautiful face on video. Please share the episode, and please vote April 3rd. Thanks. Bye.